So I wanted to speak about some other contenders. So, I think, Bobby, you brought it up. So they beat Milwaukee, obviously, the other night, 119-108. Opening night, ring night. They, beat New York Knicks.
Those outfits are fresh, huh?
Yeah, crazy, right? 132 to 109. So, Bobby, I'll start with you on this one, but just those matchups, obviously those both came in wins. But did those matchups change anything about, and you might even know it's early, about who could be contenders in the East to them?
Neither of them can contend with the Celtics. And I think that just solidifies it right there. I mean, you remember what those battles with the Bucks used to be like compared to what it looked like the other night. It's night and day. You know what I mean? Like you guys remember the series against the Bucks where it felt like it was a track meet where literally every single one of us was absolutely exhausted by the end of that series. Celtics see it.
So emotionally and physically exhausted.
That's what I mean. It was so exhausting. But the Celtics just imposed their will.
It's like Giannis,
but the Celtics imposed their will on Giannis now. I mean, even Derek White's out there blocking Giannis shots, and it's just a different team than it used to be. When they're facing these guys, and I think even winning that championship kind of gave them even more confidence that these guys can't stick with them anymore. You know what I mean? And I think it's so evident and clear when you watch them play these contenders. It's wild, the difference just in the level of right. how badly they beat these teams and how convincing it is on a nightly basis. I mean, tonight is different, obviously, but the first two at least.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I split them up a little bit in my head now. Weirdly, the Knicks and the Bucks. I feel like we match up better against the Knicks than they thought we would when they went and got their guy. Only because it's still impossible to compete with us 1-5. I mean, I know it sounds arrogant. I know that like we're a year away from being like, I don't know, man. I'm seeing a lot of the fucking flaws, but like, quite frankly, like that's was all just trauma, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of those demons were excised. And as far as the Knicks and the Bucks go, like the Bucks just trended in the wrong direction, like I think they just made a mistake making that trade for Dame and giving up Jrue Holiday. I think that they had a core that could win because they did. And the real problem they had there, unfortunately, I hate to say it, was they were depending on a guy in Chris Middleton that has a job wearing sweatsuit on the sidelines for the Milwaukee Bucks right now. My nephew plays on a soccer team with his nephew, so I refrained from, bashing the guy. It's not his fault that he's injured. I was always scared of him when he was playing against us, especially in playoff situations. Like he really did cause nightmares to our wings when he was out there and playing his best. But that was the problem they needed to address. Jrue Holiday was not broken and didn't need fixing. He was one of my favorite point guards, and it was insane that we got him. So, defensively, they've left themselves open to like huge liabilities. So, I understand the idea of going to get Doc Rivers to try to peg those holes, but Doc Rivers seems like suicidal coaching this team, to be quite honest with you. Like he just wants he wants out. I'm surprised he's still there, to be totally honest with you.
That 3-pointer that Pritchard hit at the end of the third,
and his hands just on him.
He has his head bowed like he's in prayer. Was unreal.
That poor fucking bastard's going through it, man.
I was like, wow. But to me, they're kind of like they're the Denver Nuggets of the East, right?
The Nuggets are way fucking better than them.
So no, but what I mean by that is that, yeah, I think roster wise, absolutely right. They're better. But what I mean is they both look sluggish so far, right? And yes, Giannis and Jokic are both playing both out of their minds. Like that's a given.
Jokic looks even scarier.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even say look scary because I'm just like him getting 29, 16, and 13. You're like, it's like okay, because like we've seen it. So you're like,
I know, but
that's wild to say because of how good he's been. But you're like, okay, when he gets there, you're like, that's something that he's done 1,000 times. So
there's a thing though. There's like a thing watching him this season, like the way he's moving, like the way he's creating space. The game looks so insanely easy for him. I think he's getting those numbers still with 75% of the effort, to be totally honest with you. Like I think he's doing that, and it's easier for him.
He looks like he's lost a little bit of weight too. So I think that helps.
He's having his way with people passing wise. Everybody moves at his tempo now. I mean, I know that was always a kind of a signifier of that team and like why they were good and why they won. but like everybody really moves at his tempo. The pick and rolls, everything that's going on. I'm still the most scared of them. I know they've looked sluggish, but I'm still the most scared of them.
We were so lucky last year that we didn't have to play them. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I still think we would have won. I still think we would have won.
But I'm just about to say, like, I just feel like they literally ran on the gas, which is why Minnesota ended up smacking them in Game 7. Like they just didn't have it, right?
But Minnesota were matched up so perfectly against them, though, too.
Right, like, but they've been on a really good run the last 4 to 5 years, and I think me and you, Dave, we did the show, but I feel like we talked after every Minnesota game in the playoffs. We said. I don't know which one of us said it. I can't remember, but we compared it to the Pistons run in the late 80s, early 90s. Like, that was a team that went to 3 straight finals, had been to some conference finals as well, obviously. And after a while, they just ran out of gas. And that's what Denver looked like last year. So like I said, we'll see if they're able to get back to at least the conference finals this year. But as far as Milwaukee goes, man, I don't know. I just think, to me, like I said, they got old super quick. To me, they may have to move off Brook Lopez, because to me, Bobby Portis is a much better option. Especially in today's game than Brook Lopez, and I get it.
I've always had a soft spot for Brook Lopez as a player.
No, I like his game. I just think that the 3-point shot obviously extended his career. Like, obviously, like that goes without being said. I just don't know if he can move well enough to still be a starter in the league. Once again, I think that he can help somebody off the bench somewhere, but to be someone,
he's not like part of the trifecta that they're trying to go for. And
yeah, no, that's not
it. I think they think he's the third guy in their big three, and he just isn't.
No, not at all. Once again, he's done really well since being there. Like, he's been.
I like him.
Yeah, he's been a really good rim protector. Once again, it would have been a lot scarier had they had New Jersey net Brook Lopez, because they might have won a couple.
I mean, he was an all-star.
To be honest, but he like I said, he's played his role there really well. And yeah, as I said, I still think that they both, meaning Milwaukee and New York, will still be contenders. I had told someone earlier off the air, I really like the Orlando Magic. I do.
They're so fun.
Listen, Paolo Banchero is coming. Like, if people don't think, I was like, he had 50, 13, and 9 the other night. I was like, listen.
So is Wemby.
Both of them, man.
I know. I'm saying,
guys this season are going to take.
Well, yeah, we're not going to see Wemby 4 times a year, but
true.
See her 4 times a year, and then, like I said, we may see them in the playoffs. I think they'd give Boston all they can handle.
I think Paolo's already given us problems. He's already given us problems.
Sure.
He's only better now. So.
He's also mad. One, he's mad that how they lost in Game 7 to Cleveland, and then 2, he got left off the team too in the Olympics.
Interesting.
Because and once again, as much as I like Tyrese Halliburton, you're not telling me that he's better than Paolo Banchero. No way. Not right now, anyways. No way. So I felt like
a lot of good old boys calls happening in that.
For sure. And once again, that's cool. But I think Banchero is one of
the
guys.
Would. So it is kind of
Yep.
But,
so no, it's all good. So we'll leave that there. So I want to bring it back to the Celtics. So obviously, Porzingis is out. He actually did some running around in Indiana, so he looked pretty mobile today. So hopefully that he's on the track, to recovery. That's going well. So obviously he's still out to at least some Christmas. So Dave, I'll start with you. Actually, I'll start with you. What
a cock tease.
What a cock tease, right? Right, bring it back, right? Big market tease. But would you rather see them keep playing perimeter guys more while Porzingis is out, or do you want to see more of a big lineup until Porzingis is back?
Exactly what they're doing. 4-0 to start the season, and not only that, I mean, Joe at this point doesn't seem like he can do anything wrong. So I want Joe to do whatever the hell he wants to do at this point. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
he's out of his mind.
And
the more I hear him talk, the more I realize he's
on
a different planet.
The more I hear him talk, the more I love him. And especially, do you hear the fighting comment too, where he's saying he wants to bring fighting back into the NBA? Like, that's that shit, man. That, like, I didn't know Joe had in him from the very beginning. You know what I mean? That, like, all the time that we were ragging on him, I didn't know Joe had that side to him. And I just feel like the more.
Yeah, well, that's because he was.
Well, the more comfortable he's gotten,
wide-eyed like a scared.
The more comfortable he's gotten, he's
better for sure.
Well, and I mean, yeah, hindsight's 2020. I'll let you finish your point, but hindsight's 2020. But I felt like we have not seen Brad Stevens make a bad move as GM, right? So when he appointed Joe Mazzulla as head coach, we should have known eventually it was going to work. We should have, but we didn't because we just thought we was like, fuck, we're not going to win right now. We need to win now. Like not a guy that was brand new, that was an assistant coach, but we should have known that they saw something that was going to say, hey, you know, this guy could be the guy to lead us going forward. So, but
no, I mean, and just around, I mean, you ask if they should play more perimeter guys. I think they should play whoever the hell Joe wants to play. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they should play more perimeter guys because that's the type of ball that Joe wants to play. So, yeah, for sure.
I kind of agree. I mean, I echo the sentiment of letting Joe decide, even in a more practical sense, because I think he's been doing good situational substitutions actually deeper into the bench. I think that like he's just looking at guys right now and it like in different situations. And I want to see him too. I want to see him in different positions doing whatever. And then I think as we get into the meat of the season, we should be watching minutes with our rotation. So, you know, if we get to December and Porzingis is back, do I want to see him play more than 11 minutes a night for the first like chunk of that up till Christmas, right? Probably not. How do we make that happen? So, you know, if we're going to have him as a plug and play guy on the night, then yeah, I'd probably want to see more like for like substitutions, like a Tillman, big body, backing him up, a guy that we do rotate in because we're going to try to keep his minutes limited until we get to the playoffs. Right now, I don't think it matters as much because he's nowhere to be found, you know, on the court, which is great. I mean, take your time. We're doing fine without you, except for tonight. And now I think it's just like use those extra minutes, your banked minutes, to like look at who you want to look at. Rotate more guards, I think, because I think you want, when you play the lesser teams early in the season, you want to really just be kind of getting into your execution every time, right? So in situations when you want your front court to be executing and scoring, which is a lot of the Celtics scoring, as we all know, most of it, honest, then you get the younger guards in there. You get the what's the ball guy's name? Walsh.
Yeah.
Walsh. You get him in there. Yeah, he's missing like big wide open threes, which I saw people were mad at, but I think he played with a lot of energy. I think Jaylen Brown shouted that out. I agreed with it at the time when I was watching it. You know, offensive rebounds from guys that are trying to become role players on a team, like I would start there. I would start with defense. I would start, you know, for where he is in his growth, he couldn't be in a better place surrounded by better guards and basketball players to emulate. So, you know, I want to see more of him. At the same time, I also want to see situational, rotational stuff for when we do eventually have a fully healthy team. And I would just like to say, and I know we said this all last year, it's insane that we bring Porzingis back into this team. When he played the very little that he played in the postseason last year, there was glimpses of like one of the best teams I've ever seen. And I'm not being hyperbolic. It looked absolutely fucking bananas when he was in there. So like, it's just insane. And like on that note, I just wanted to get this one last thing out. When you earlier, Ray, you said the Bucks the Nuggets remind you of the Pistons from our younger days, where, you know, they won one and you're thinking they maybe should have won more, but like circumstantially, whatever. I thought to myself, what do the Celtics look like? And I'm not saying Joe Mazzulla's pop, but I was like, the Spurs.
We are very Spurs.
I'm not saying pop. I'm not.
I would gladly take Tatum having a Tim Duncan type career. Absolutely.
No shit.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, 2-time MVP, 5-time champion. Absolutely.
I think Tim Duncan, quietly, by the way, I think Tim Duncan might have been the best player we watched up until LeBron James. I think a lot of these GOAT conversations happen and people say things about Kobe Bryant and like RIP, no disrespect. Tim Duncan was a fucking problem. If you watched him growing up, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't remember anyone ever getting him like one-on-one at that position. Garnett couldn't. And he was one of my favorite players. And
quick aside before we get into some football, but listen, from day one, he was the guy, and they made the playoffs his first year, and they faced Phoenix in the first round. And at that time, Phoenix had Jason Kidd. I don't know if Dan Marley was on the team then, but they had some decent players still there. And Hot Rod Williams was someone that had been in the league for a minute, and they had Hot Rod Williams guarding him one-on-one. And, Kevin Harlan, who, many NBA fans know and love now as an announcer, obviously this is almost 30 years ago, so he was a lot younger, but he's he's giving a call, and he's giving that call what it deserves. Dunk it on the inside, dunk it on the outside, and someone young shall lead them. Timeout Phoenix. And it's just like he was giving them whatever he wanted. And Harvard Williams couldn't do nothing. Harvard Williams wasn't no scrub. He couldn't do nothing. He's literally looking at the bench like, what can I do? So yeah, that to me is not a far-fetched statement. People will hear this when it comes out and say, how can you feel that way? But it's like, look, if you look at the numbers and you look at what he did from day one, we can say we want about Pop, we can say about David Robinson and other guys that can't.
But much like the Celtics team,
was the guy. Period.
I think he was maligned for being on a good team. I think he was underappreciated for being on.
They wasn't good. They were decent. They were decent. They were decent, and then they got he made them. They went from good to elite with him. Elite. Once again,
and they already had David Robinson.
Right, but they made the conference finals and lost to Houston, who became the champions, right? Mm-hmm. And then they tanked so they could get Tim Duncan. I don't blame them.
Should have been us.
Really should have been us. Should have been us. That lottery, man.
It's okay.
If we got him, we would have dominated every decade.
Yeah. Rick, that's why Rick Pitino.
And like I said, it's funny.
Came to Boston in the first place. He thought we were getting Duncan.
No facts, but think about that.
Yeah.
It would have been. Well, I mean, he and him dropped Fit Chauncey and Ron Mercer. But
Chauncey's actually
think about a young Antoine.
Right,
think about exactly. Young Antoine, you get Tim Duncan the next year, and then the next year would have been Paul.
Imagine.
Woo. I mean that. Oh my God! And then with Kenny,
I think we win in 04. I think we win in 04 if that happens.
They may even win sooner than that. I'm like, remember the year we lost to the Nets. I think we beat that Nets team with those guys there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jay Kidd.
We would have.
I know, but Tim
Duncan. Yeah.
Woo, that would be fun.
Basketball boners. I'm gonna go play that NBA mode where you draft whoever you want.
Yeah,
the 90s mode is the best one.
Yeah, that would be fun to see for sure. When it gets back to the summertime, I think we're gonna have to have a few what if type of shows where it's like talking about those fun scenarios. But yeah, no. But listen, to wrap that up, like I said, they've been killing it. Like I said, obviously, looks like they're gonna get their first L tonight. But like I said, the thing is with the Celtics, you have to hope they don't shoot well in order to beat them. They did not shoot well. I am concerned a little bit about how teams are getting into the paint against them, but obviously that changes once number 8 comes back because he helped the defense dramatically. So they got to find ways to scheme the defense better that teams are not going into the lane and kind of keeping it close when they're shooting all those threes. So, but either way, Celtics are killing it. They're doing great.
81-1.
I love it. Yeah. So you say what?
81-1.
81-1. That's right. Still on the table. So something that's not on the table